was confused.
Okay, we're live. We're definitely
Dang.
live. Let's check it.
Hello.
Oh.
Hello, everybody.
Can someone check it really quick about the levels? Hi, everyone.
Let us know how it sounds.
How does our level sound?
Check. Yes.
Host,
Check.
Host.
Oh.
1, 2,
Don't
3.
poke
Check,
me.
check.
check your mic, silly.
Whip dip.
Oh, hi. This
Now I
is
see the
Cora
sign.
tuning in from an invisible world.
I want to be an invisible world.
Got neither the streams or the ping notifications. Hello, DDC.
Hello, D. How are you?
Hey.
You guys are in color.
We got a check from Hatman, and so now we can afford it.
Vivid. Vivid Technicolor. This is colorized.
It's a little quiet. It is.
Analog is a little
Oh,
quiet.
I'm a little quiet. Well, what if I do that?
But is a little loud. That's normal.
That's normal. I'll move the mic back a little.
That means his levels are set just right.
Yeah.
Very realistically.
Yes.
I hope
Until he
mine is
starts
okay.
yelling.
Okay.
I hope it's okay.
Hello again. Foot is a little loud. I don't know. That is okay.
I backed the
turned
mic off
myself
a bit.
So welcome. We're just basically gonna drink and talk.
At 9 in the morning or 7 in the morning.
Yeah, it depends on where you are, but
It's 5 here.
Yeah.
We had the yeah. I probably should.
so it should be, if I'm remembering correctly, it's 8 a.m. here. It's 10 at Analogs, and then for Flo and Andrea, it's 5 p.m.
Exactly.
Is that right?
That is
Cool.
the math. Yep.
Hey,
It's socially acceptable for two of them to drink.
hey, the world's in quarantine. I think all that stuff's kind of out the window right now.
I'll hold you to that the next time that I pour wine.
At
Oh,
8
my
a.m.
level's better. Thanks, Ben.
Nice. So if everything's okay, I'm gonna put my glasses first.
Hello, Simon.
Hey,
Hello,
Simon.
Hey,
Andras,
Hey.
Kire, Pilbuk, Benjamin.
What's up, guys?
For anyone that's confused, Cora is here,
Yes,
moderating
Also.
and asking questions.
not screen represented, but
Nope.
still very
Cora,
present.
yeah, and Cora's foot's better half. For anyone
That's
Yeah.
that
correct.
doesn't know
Much
that.
better. Much better.
And the what's the name?
Less yelling.
The mole inside like the spy for the how do you call it? Like when they do the post like to say who's that? Who are those
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah, she's the mole. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. She's our informant,
Oh, good.
and she would relish
Oh my
in
gosh,
that.
what is going on?
With Dipwith also, but Dipwith not here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Dip's not awake, I bet.
probably not.
So
No.
basically, we sorted out all of the questions that we had during the sessions, during the parallel sessions. We grabbed most of them, and we kind of avoid making double questions. So a lot of them
Best
were
as we could.
a lot of them were similar. So we
Yeah,
are going to answer
consolidated.
that.
Do you guys want to start?
Yeah, do it.
Yay!
All right.
Hey.
We're going to start with Trisket. Trisket asked, how much planning went into the sessions?
Quite a bit.
A lot?
Right?
Yeah, fair amount. I mean, we started talking about it in, I think, October of 2019.
I don't know dates,
And-
but yeah, it was it was definitely before.
Was last year, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. Yeah.
Didn't play
Yeah,
until January or February.
Yep. Had to get through the holidays.
Yeah.
So
and
about
Flo
how
kind
many...
of launched it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I said Flo kind of launched it. Like I think that you kind of started the idea of it and suggested it, and then
Absolutely.
we all said yeah because that sounds fun.
So about how many phone calls did you have, Discord calls, before you actually picked up an instrument?
Is there anyone here who counts things? I don't.
I think we
Just
played
a
once in
just a
November, right?
varying amount.
I'm going to say at least 3.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
one
definitely,
being
yeah.
playing but not recording anything.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did some test sessions too.
And I
Some
think that,
planning.
and initially that I don't know if this is covered in other questions, but initially the initial idea was to actually just do it all with live streams, so that
Yeah.
we were actually imagining running 4 separate live streams that people could watch together, but pretty quickly became apparent that that would be
Yeah.
pretty complicated to like
Yeah.
get all working. So we switched over to just this idea of recording live sessions instead.
Yeah, mostly because the 4 stream, having 4 streams, and I remember the first thing was to switch between 4 streams, like to have 4 separated streams and try to merge them, like
Yeah.
before merging them in one page, saying maybe we can start 4 different streams and whoever wanna listen to it can switch between tabs, but quickly,
Yeah.
obviously, with the phones it couldn't work at all.
Yeah.
Could work with
Yeah.
if you had a computer, but
And even
Yeah.
the sync could be so far off from listener to listener that it would. There's a lot of technical. That's still a cool idea, like, but yeah,
We haven't abandoned it. It's still something we're trying to figure out.
we're searching for the
I'll be
technology.
your test your test viewer. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a very popular question. Did you clap sync to start, and what other methods did you use to stay in time with each other?
the clap was done every time, by Nick. The clapper.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it was mostly me initiating it. Yeah, there was clapping for sure
Much clapping.
for the purposes of syncing. Yeah, so
Yes.
we would. It got pretty
I was gonna
like
say, go ahead,
hilariously
Nick.
complicated
It
because
did.
like what was it? There was like a point where it was like 1, 2, clap,
Yeah.
4, 5, clap.
It
I don't even
was
remember why that was
One,
for.
2, start the timer.
Yeah, 1, 2
3,
clock.
4, start. I think
Flash the
cameras.
lights or something.
Cameras, and then 5, 6 clap. I think at one point because we were trying to do multiple camera shots and
Yeah, like one of us would have more than
give
one
Flo
camera.
as many
Yeah.
editing issues as we could, basically.
So we were getting to the point where like one of us, like I think Flo would like flick the lights in his room or
Yeah.
something to
Yeah,
show
because he
to
had
have a
3
sync-
cameras or 2 cameras,
Yeah.
and Andrea had his drone footage and boom cam coming in. And
Yeah. The underwater footage, of course.
Yes.
The helicopter
The helicopter
shot.
one. Yeah.
But having a
These
clap
are all,
was necessary for
Jokes we
the,
came up with because of how complicated it was.
for
Yep.
the edits. Most of the use of the clap was for the edit only. So we had a clap
Right,
for
yes.
editing the 4 tracks and the 4 video tracks all together. And I think during the thing it wasn't most of the time the keeping track of what was happening. I don't even know how many. I never checked the timeline to see actually how many seconds we had of delay, because you can see it before doing the synchronization of the clap. You can hear it in some of you other tracks, like the vocal. You can hear Nick, doing his thing.
Yeah.
So I think most of the time we had like, I don't know, like 2 seconds, 1 second delay, 2 second delay, like probably like we are having right now.
So
Yeah.
that is one of the questions: is if there was any Discord lag.
Yeah.
Probably.
Definitely. Yeah,
Yes,
because
there
we
was,
were
but I
using
think-
Discord, and that's inherent with Discord that there's a lot of different varying. It's not just lag; it's drift.
Yeah.
Well, you also used other things like a timer, correct? Is that
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Was that to keep you all within, like, ending on a certain time? What was that used for?
Yeah, it was the general approach was you'll probably hear like significant transitions every about 15 minutes because we would have an order of the 4 of us in 15-minute chunks. So and we're all playing all at the same time always, but there was like if it was like this was Andrea's chunk, then he was the leader or the focus for that bit. Yeah.
So you established that ahead of time?
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's what people wanted to know too. That's the next question is how did everyone synchronize so well musically and what kind of nonverbal language was used during the recording, which it sounds like you guys had laid out beforehand who was doing what at what time and did that change every time?
It wasn't anything that specific per se. We would just have the timer to know when each person's part was going to start and end. We had a predefined order for each session on who was going to play where, and each person had a key that they would play in. Most of the musical interactions that we had were very, I use the word too much, but very visceral in that we just did it intuitively with each other. Like there wasn't any pre-planned, like, hey, Andrea, I need you to play a low note over here, and Flo, play your guitar, and Analog do some, tinkly, sampley stuff. Like there wasn't, that was all improvised. Like it wasn't pre-planned in any way.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
have our keynote, and yeah, and our time zone into the session.
Yeah.
Our moment, our 15 minutes. That was the. I think it's mainly the only planning that we have about the tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone
it
can
was
play. Could have played any instruments, and yeah,
Yes.
most of
it,
the things are just improvisation, of course.
yeah, just the time chunk and the key. That was the only like
Yeah.
guideline.
But
Like,
it's
there's
also
other things that we planned, but that was the only like guideline.
it's interesting to see how sometimes even during like those parts, some changes appeared. It's not all the time going like one note straight and going through it, the four of us. Sometimes,
Yeah.
as I probably said a couple of times, there's small moments where things fade out and two go into a direction, and the two other ones are still going, like slowing things down. And every time it's super, super, super nice how it got synchronized naturally. Like
Yes.
every
Yeah.
time that I hear when I watch now the videos, because on the moments, because of Discord, sometimes low quality and delay and stuff like that, couldn't catch every single details of it. But when I watch the video and I hear Foot like start to play guitar on ear left, and like 2 seconds or 1 second later, I'm taking the guitar as well, while the two main drones from Analog and Andrea are playing, is like, whoa, that works. That works
Yeah,
nice.
for sure. Yeah, well, like the last session 4, the last piece there, I had no idea the subfrequencies that you guys were laying out in that part, because all I heard was what I could hear through Discord
Yeah.
in my ears. So, like, I didn't hear any of that until we actually all watched the session together, and that was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, the fidelity, that's what's so fun about fidelity, because, done a lot of stuff in my life before with recording, it's like a micro cassette or something, and it's kind of, you hear with your ears and then you listen back and it's a lower fidelity. This was like the opposite. Like
Yeah.
what I heard was a lower fidelity, and then after I listened to Flo's mixes, it was like, oh, that's what it sounds like. Like that's cool, And it sounded cool when I was listening over Discord too, but it generally sounded way cooler once I heard the mixes.
I'm sure it's different when you're in the mode of creativity. You're not completely tuned into just listening. And so I'm
Yeah.
sure it was an experience listening back as well, kind of with everyone.
Yeah, because I was basically hearing it for the first time in a sense.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of.
Flo was basically the only one that heard anything. It heard everything ahead of time since he was putting together all the videos and stuff. So especially for the three of us, like we didn't hear the sessions until he either had us listen to them or when everybody was listening to them.
Well, there's a couple things. Normally, we'll keep questions in the chat till the end, but Simon the Magpie would like to know if Analog was focused during all of this.
I mean, I think
Focused
the
on
video
what?
tells the tale. You can watch and see his focus.
That's good. Also, everyone needs to now have the same cap on their head because it's becoming a branding issue. Which I know that Foot
Right away,
does
Foot's
own
gonna
one.
go
Oh,
get one.
here we
Yeah.
go.
Oh
There
God,
we
they're both
go.
gone.
Was
It's
just so
ubiquitous. It's a
good.
hat that everyone has. Every man
Oh
owns a.
no.
30 minutes and we are already like missing 2 people.
It's the musician's hat.
Yeah, I was focused though. I will say like that was kind of my ongoing joke with how it looks like I felt bad because my stuff's not super performant like visually, so because
Hmm.
everything I did was like in Ableton mostly, so yeah, it looks like I'm just browsing the fucking internet when I'm sitting there, which isn't true. But that's yeah.
Oh,
Oh look, we already have.
yes.
Wow.
It works.
This is so good, everybody. All
We did it.
future
I feel
all
better.
future sessions must be done wearing the hat. Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah, my
so
posture sucks, Simon. I know.
some of these questions will be somewhat answered as you guys go, but there's a possibility that you guys can go a little deeper. So this says, how is the process of recording each part done? Did you do all of that during Discord calls, doing it live, or did you pass around takes and overdub?
All live.
All live.
All live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each 1 hour session that you hear took 1 hour, like to
Yep.
do, and like what you hear there is what happened in an hour.
No cuts, no redos.
And we probably
Yeah,
had
exactly.
like just maybe not the first time, but the more it went, like the last sessions, we probably had a phone call of I don't know, like 5 or 10 minutes before. Like at the first time, we had to talk a little bit more about how the thing will like go through the. But at the end, it was like, "Hey, hello, how are you going? Yeah."
Yeah.
One, two,
Yeah.
Here we
clap.
go. Yeah, because actually one of the first times we were just thinking about what to do, even like I think it was still when we were thinking we were going to end up streaming, we
Yeah.
ended up in a kind of jam. So like
Yeah.
there was like a couple, at least 2 times I think, where it wasn't like one of the sessions you heard, but we ended up playing for like a while,
Yeah.
just in that
Oh,
way.
I know. I was
Hey
there.
now. Hey now.
Not
Sitting
talking to
on the
you, Cora, you
couch.
know.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Talking
So
to the people that don't know.
much of the mix, I mean, well, some of this is obvious, but how much of this is mixed live, or was it mostly mixed in post, with the Discord call just being a monitor for what the others are doing?
Yeah, monitor.
So did
Everything
you
is mixed.
how much mixing did you have to do after?
Everything because the main also one of the main problem was that Discord was like a mono, like every time that we were playing we had like 3 other people playing in mono plus the sound that you make also in your head like front, so it was kind of blurry and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes messy
Yeah.
because of that. So I think the first session, and I still don't know if that's something I'm still asking, if that still work in a way. Like, is it cool to have like, for example, someone on the extreme left, someone like 50% left, someone 50% right, and someone 100% right? It's like probably super unconventional, but because I remember I saw a question about that, like about the bass.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's coming up, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Well, we could just say that right now. Did you attempt to keep the bass frequencies more
Yeah.
centered, despite each participant being in their own space in the stereo field?
And I think Grumo asked
Yeah,
that.
Grumo asked that.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I thought about it
For-
once to
for the
to
answer.
say maybe we can, like, for example, when Andrea is that the mini log?
Yeah.
The mini log at the end of the session
Sorry.
4. So you you
Laughing
put
chat.
the like a huge note of bass, and
Sub bass.
I was wondering
Yeah.
if I could put that in the middle along with the Volca, but there are so many things that piles up onto the track that it's quickly turn into like more mess than expected.
Yeah, with the lack of anything beyond any specific planning beyond like the time chunks and the keys, like it's like any of us might have been filling that like part of like bass or
Yeah.
like so it was kind of I think it was interesting to do the kind of just the straight panning kind of
Yes.
approach to mixing because that's kind of conveying to the listener that experience of like this person's here, and this is just what it sounded like.
Yeah, it's another representation that there's 4 of us playing at once.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, Flo, did you use any compressors or anything else on the mix after recording?
Yeah, but slightly, like not to color the sound too much. I'd say like one per track for sure to get a little bit more of like low sounds, pump the low sounds and compress the high ones, the loud ones maybe, and one for the overall just to merge everything into the same, you know, mood.
Mm.
Maybe not color, mood.
Glue it
Yeah.
all together.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of glues it.
Did you notice a significant difference with the final mix versus the raw mix, or is it pretty? Yeah.
Oh, well, this is a good question.
The raw
I think
being
we have
Discord.
just the final mix. I listened, yeah, to the final one, I think.
Yeah, that's all I ever heard. So
And
Yeah.
Same.
the raw being the four tracks penned or just the Discord call.
Oh, well, I didn't ask the question, so
well, figure it out,
um
Cora. Go.
I think what they're wanting to know is after mixing the final product,
Mm.
like how different is it from the raw
I mean,
tracks
compared
that
to the
were first
Discord
done?
call, it's dramatic. Like
It's
it's like
dramatic.
so like I didn't.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like I didn't even hear the what I like I heard enough to follow along and know the key and all that. Like I was saying before, it was like really almost similar to like when you record on a micro cassette recorder and then you hear it back in such lo-fi, but the other direction. I was hearing it in really lo-fi, and then when I heard the mix, it was like, wow, that's
Yeah,
what
opened it way
that's
up.
the sounds we were all making. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was cool. That was my favorite. That was actually one of my favorite things about the doing it. Actually, for me
same.
personally. Yeah.
Yeah,
Discovering what the
yeah,
other were
absolutely.
doing after.
Yeah.
Well,
The
when I was playing with
surprise.
you guys, like it was either one of two things. Either all I could really hear was very little bit of you and myself, or the inverse, where I hear more of everything else and not too
Yeah.
much of me.
Yeah,
So I'd never like the sub frequency thing. Like a half the time I didn't hear any of that
yeah.
stuff, especially lows. Like I'm not going to catch much lows through
Mm.
Discord. Like
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
Well,
compression, baby.
right, squish the crap out of it.
this was partially answered with you guys having arranged, the order of kind of who was going to go every time, but did you have any plans or restrictions that you talked about so that it wouldn't get too noisy or muddy at points?
Little bit, I'd say.
Not much that we
And you
talked
just
about
trust
though.
each other?
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah.
not about
definitely.
being too loud, but I think we talked about no rhythm, at least not that much percussions,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
because of
At least.
It
delay,
Yeah.
of course.
it could be sparse and arrhythmic, but we didn't go in with a 120 dance beat, 120 BPM. Like that.
Darn it.
The next project maybe
Yeah,
It's
parallel
difficult.
dance.
Yeah, with the drift and the lag with Discord. Yeah, and that might be one of the future questions I forget. But yeah, that's one of the things we kind of think would be fun for the future is finding ways to
Mm.
get more or avoid those problems more to mess with that kind of stuff more. But yeah, we didn't really make huge attempts at too many rhythmic things. We did though. I mean, like there
there's
were
a
things that
couple.
were like,
Yeah.
bum bum bum, but we didn't try to sync up with each other too much on it. Yeah,
No.
Well, I
because
feel
that's
because
like Flow and Foot are the most similar in sound, but you guys all have your own thing to where I feel like you're not all doing the exact same thing, stepping on each other, so that probably helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, for me personally, I'm used to playing with people like in a improv kind of way, and I know you guys have that too. So I think that was like we didn't have to plan much for that. There was definitely points where in each session where I was making silence and just listening, figuring out how I wanted to come in or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's a question later I'm going to bring up right now. How often did one of you play nothing and just listen to everyone else?
well,
For
I
me,
must
like
say
10 to
I have a
20% of
lot
the
of
time. Yeah,
yeah, a lot
probably.
of sound moments actually, or you know some slight texture, some just
Yeah.
sparkle of sound. Yeah,
Sparkle.
I really like in this kind of situation to listen, because listening is also part of the improvisation. It's one of the main part of improvisation.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just need to stop and listen.
Mm.
So I think
Yeah, and
most of us are doing this thing.
well, this whole thing was great practice for me because I used to have in the mindset that I couldn't allow silence. So anytime
Mm.
it was quieter or I didn't know what to do, I just start mashing my fingers on the guitar. You know, that was the joke that I would make constantly is must play. So
It's too
it was
quiet.
good. It was good for me. Yes. Yes. No silence. Go.
Silence is scary. Well, Grumo asked Flo, is the theremin somehow connected to the Volca FM?
No, the theremin is just connected to the mixer, and I just used it as such. But I didn't even know you could plug theremin into the Volca. Like, how can you?
What's CV or
Maybe.
something?
Oh, use it as an expression thing,
I don't know.
maybe.
I don't have Volker. I was just assuming. I
Ah.
was just guessing.
Can be a good idea. Eh,
Yeah, it could be. I don't even know if that could work. Like using, maybe not as
Depends
such.
on the voltage, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know you had a theremin. So that's how observant I am.
I don't. I didn't use it that much. It's on the fourth session, but I put out the Electrophostus optical theremin as well. That one
I
could
saw
work.
that.
Yeah, that one
Yeah.
could work as an expression pedal or something
Cool.
like that, but maybe not the theremin. I don't know.
I only knew because Foot goes, oh, Flo with the theremin. And I was like, oh.
I saw that in the Electrofaustus too, because I used to have one of those, the optical one.
Mm. The old ones.
Trisket asked Foot, what did you use for the train sound? So I hope you know what session it was.
I do. That was from session 4.
Or the what?
The one time that I almost made kind of a rhythmic sound,
Oh,
and
the
what it
train.
was
Is that it?
I know this thing.
this on heartbeat going into the U create with the delay setting.
I'll tell everyone what that first item was.
This is a circuit bent white noise generator.
And the other one, everyone
That's
Oh.
got batteries still.
always asks
Totally
about that
works.
thing.
The
Every
U
single-
create
The You Create.
Yes.
Everyone wants to know what that means.
by Radica Toys, which I think is an off branch of Mattel. Yep.
Where did you find that?
I've got it on eBay for pretty cheap, and it does a bunch of weird effects with this
Mm.
blobby part, which is the Aki Azika. I never can say it right. There's a company that makes a pedal where it's just basically a rehoused one of these with all of the effects and stuff accessible.
It's like
So
super expensive.
it is very expensive, whereas I got this for like less than $30, so that's why I went that route.
Ezi and Aka.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I've only read it. I've never heard it said, so I was never sure
Yeah.
how to
And
say it.
that specific Conair noise generator is pretty cool. I actually, when I saw that, I knew it right away because I just recently bent one of those for a friend.
Yeah.
Actually, for this friend, right? The Burial X. Yeah.
Oh, Boreal.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Name drop. KDMQ asked, favorite moment that someone could sample? Good luck.
That someone
Uh,
could sample.
Mine. I'm gonna go first so that I can steal it before anybody else. My favorite moment, I believe, is the end of session 1 when everybody, other than me, because I'm too
Yeah.
scared to sing, started doing vocal parts and throat singing and overtone singing, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely worth the sample.
Like something to sample. That was the question. Like what would be? Yeah.
So that KDMQ sent that to my Instagram, and all they asked is favorite moment
Okay.
and to sample or something. I wasn't really. I'm kind of hoping they'd be in the chat just so we could ask for clarification. But
I figured if I said it to music people, they could twist it into
Yeah.
some sort of an
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. So I wonder
But-
if they mean audio or video. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
When you gotta think about who you're talking to, you know, do they want to pull a bit of that and
Sure.
sample it in one of their things?
Please do.
Yeah, please do.
KDMQ can sample whatever they want.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Everyone loves
singing,
KDMQ.
the end of the session
The-
one is a good example of like steal some part of it and maybe do something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I mean,
other
because
than
Alright.
that,
for my part, I definitely use samples a lot. That was like my main. I mean, I drone and I sample, so there's definitely just playing back samples a lot in mine. So
are you gonna
Totally
resample
down.
the sessions for late, like next sessions?
He's going to release his Analog Weapon Parallel remix album.
remix, yeah.
It'll be 20 hours long.
Good, you play it all day long in the background of whatever you're doing.
We'll get it to Heinbach, and he'll just play all the sessions at half speed.
Holy moly! 4
At
hours.
a gallery
half
in
speed.
Berlin somewhere.
Okay, well, let's do one that's for everyone, and we'll go in a.
Sorry, Lou just came in and has no idea why we're all wearing hats.
Why are
Yeah.
we all wearing caps?
Because it's
We're
what we
all
do.
your grandpa, Lou. That sounds totally weird.
Now I'm
Pretend
pulling
I didn't
all
say it.
of the serious questions. I am pulling them out of the chat for later, so they will be answered. But
Pull the
I'm
not
going off
serious
of.
ones too.
Oh, I
Sorry.
am,
Yes,
but we're
absolutely.
kind of doing those as we go. So I have thrown some of them in. They're kind of fun. But this one's for everyone, so I thought we could kind of go in order of the boxes. So we'll start with Analog, Andrea, but then Flo. So what were your most frequent and this is Trisket, sorry. Trisket said, what were your most frequent and least frequently used pieces of gear and instruments?
So
Most and least.
my most frequent was definitely my computer, specifically Ableton. I don't have a lot of outboard gear anymore these days, so that's kind of where I work. And also, I just samples is a huge part of what I do. So that's Ableton's really suited for that kind of live or like performant kind of use. The least frequently used would be just whatever I didn't use at all, right? Sorry, I'm pedantic. Um, I didn't use like my little thing here that is like a circuit bent kind of guitar toy that I'd only used a little bit in like I think the last session. So that would probably I guess be my least used of the things that I still actually used. Yeah. Seth, you're watching. I'm gonna give that to you. That's Seth's thing. That's my answer.
Cool. Well, I think that one of the thing that I used most was these things, mixers, actually, because I play mostly mixers. I played also, yeah, the mini log and some sessions, the bass, especially in the last 2 ones. But most of the sounds comes from the mixers, so they are my main instruments, also in parallel.
What was your least used, Andrea?
The least one.
The least one. The least one. The least one.
None.
That's a hard question.
The way I'm answering it, if
let
it's
me
I
because
say the way I'm answering, if it helps you, is like I'm thinking about what I have back here set up already and the stuff that I had there, but I didn't actually end up using for that
It'll
question.
be the same.
Yeah.
That's a difficult question because I'm trying to remember what I used during the sessions actually.
Yeah.
Because when you are in the flow, it's kind of difficult to focus on memorization of the things. So I don't know. I don't really know.
Andrea uses everything.
Everything.
He
If
Yeah.
you watch,
So,
Andrea
if you
just
say,
moves
like-
around the whole.
That's true. Andrea literally has this whole space that he can just roam and and play.
If you say it like that, like you said, for like what I set up to use but never ended up using, that would for me that would be my guitar, my electric guitar. There was
Yeah.
times where I had it ready, but then I just didn't get to it.
Well, I don't know, so I won't answer to this
Okay.
question.
So
That's fine.
I ended up more than anything using guitars, obviously.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's so weird for me to do that. I have one that was in the first two sessions that is one that's I built from parts that's a pine wood Telecaster body, and it has a Jazzmaster neck pickup and a regular Tele bridge pickup, and it actually has a Jazzmaster style tremolo vibrato, whichever the preferred term is, actually vibrato, but whatever. My least used one, I think I only use it for one session, is this little guy. There's a company I buy a lot of PCBs to do DIY pedals and stuff called Parasite Studios, and this is one of their products that I put in an old battery charger case. Basically produces 3 drones with a little sequence, one of them sequenceable. I only used it one time and found that with all of the drones going on, and Flo has the drone 6 that he produces that is a very similar sound. So I really only used it for one part and felt like the sonic, that part was already covered, so I didn't really feel the need to use it too much. One weird thing is I didn't actually use my Tascam as much as you would think I would, partly because I didn't always put in the time to actually prep tapes for the sessions, which was my fault, but it didn't get as much use as I normally would.
Yeah,
Same.
I think I did.
Actually, for
Now
my
that you
4-track,
mention
yeah.
it, I think I didn't use it that much either. Maybe
The drone 6
the
or
Tascam.
your tape loops.
The Tascam. Yeah, I tried to set at least one tape per session, to prepare
Yeah.
one tape per session. But most of the time I wasn't feeling like using the thing that much. So I ended up using it with my previous thing, but like tuning or detuning, tuning up or tuning down the pitch of the Tascam. I didn't use that much the guitar. I think the thing that I've used all the time was the Volca, like the FM and the keys. Mostly, that's the thing that I've been using all the time. And after mentioning like Andrea's trumpet previously, that we were all like, "What? You had a trumpet, man? What the
Had a
fuck?"
trumpet the whole time. And he didn't share.
That was a small point of contention. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
so funny.
when we talked about
You
that,
had a
then I
trumpet.
looked at what I had in the studio, and I looked at like the hurdy-gurdy thing. I didn't use it. I didn't use that one, which would have been cool.
I was upset about that too.
And neither the mandolin. I was picturing maybe we could have a mandolin because you have a mandolin and a banjo, Nick, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Yep.
I was picturing maybe we could have a moment with like 2 mandolins, but didn't happen. So
Yeah.
One of
and we
you
could have
ended
went
up whipping
full.
out bagpipes after all this. I would have been totally pissed. You had
We could have
bagpipes
went
and you didn't tell me.
full coursed instruments because I have a mandolin as well, and Andrea has a bouzouki, so that could have
Yeah.
been maybe next time
maybe next time.
Yeah, I
Pizookie,
never
like a
used the
cookie?
book.
with a B, not
Yeah,
a
you
P.
didn't.
Darn it.
Yeah.
That's also true.
So, just so you know, Lou says Sataki is a little quieter than anyone, and Foot is a little louder.
Yeah, well,
Just some
that's
feedback.
that's a given
Well,
Sure,
for me. That
Foot
is.
can't be quiet even when he whispers. But let's see. Grumo asked, Flo, did you have 2 lo-fi junkies? Or you do have 2 lo-fi junkies? Is this for stereo?
It's not for stereo. One is for maybe if I put the mic up here, it'll be better. I have 2. One for the guitar and one for the Super Eagles loop. One goes into the Super Eagles loop to make those sustained frozen notes going like.
Yeah.
Perfect recreation of the sound.
Yeah, thank you.
Just like that.
You just play a sample?
Try to raise that. So basically 2, but like I'm really considering to remove one, at least the one for the guitar, and get something else. But I think we talked about that with you, Kevin, once. Like it's,
Oh, yeah.
it's too.
Yeah, I lust for the Cooper effects.
Yeah.
That's funny because now I forgot the name of it, even though I really want one. But it basically does the same like warbly, crunched up tape VCR. Like it's a pedal I've wanted for a long time. They're just a little spendy, and he does them in limited runs.
The outward?
No, the outward's the one I have.
Oh, the generation loss?
That's the one.
Yeah, everybody wants it.
Yeah, everybody wants it. Nobody has it. Yeah. Except for all the people on Instagram that have it.
Sound better.
Yes, you sound better.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right,
Lou approved.
Grumo. Yes.
I'll try
Lou
not to eat
approved.
the mic so much.
Grumo also asked for everyone, do you find cassette tape types like chrome, ferric, etc. important for your loops and drones, or nah?
Nah.
That's quoted by Grumo. Nah.
I get whatever I can find at the thrift store. I don't even pay attention to what type it is.
That.
I know there's kinds that are better quality than others, but I only have the options that are available for me for 59 cents or whatever they are. So, and I'm not going to order new tape just to cut it up and make loops. That's
Pretty
not
sure it's
my
69
way.
cents.
No,
It really is, though.
you're probably right.
Did you get muted, Tataki? Because your lips are moving, but I can't tell what you're saying, Pink Floyd.
Your lips are
yeah.
moving, but I don't understand what you're saying.
Seems so.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't hear him.
We're gonna pause the questions.
No, go ahead.
That was a
I don't want-
iconic shrug motion.
Yeah.
I'd like the warped vinyl too, Grimo, but the Chase Bliss stuff is even more expensive than Cooper effects.
Yeah.
And Cooper's a small builder, so not that Chase Bliss isn't necessarily, but Cooper's like basically one guy. So I'd like to support him if I can.
Is that the Bloop one? Is that Chase Bliss?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one.
But that
ones
was a
I really
collaboration with
covet.
them and Knobs and a bunch of other people, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. But it's like almost $400. So
I think it's like 500 or something.
probably.
Yeah. That's on my list of things I still want anyway. Even though, despite the price.
Yeah, it's pretty painful.
He is. Oh.
Where
Lou says he is back. Are you back, Flo?
Am I? No.
I don't.
We can't hear him. I don't know. Maybe if his audio's in the stream,
maybe it's on the
but
stream. Yeah.
we can't hear him.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you got muted in Discord somehow.
Really?
That's a
maybe,
problem.
yeah.
What did you do in the last, 2 minutes?
Back for a second.
He moved his mic.
Give me a second.
And whatever else he did that I don't know about.
All the clicky clicks.
There's definitely a lot of this kind of stuff too when we're setting up for sessions.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
just to clarify for people who don't know, like 2 are in the United States and 2 are in like the Europe area. So, I mean,
There you
Yeah,
are.
I hear you.
And I'm
there
back.
we
Okay,
go.
good.
Now they're telling us that they can hear you. So, which now we can hear you. That's kind of important too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're
Okay.
back
All
to
right.
normal.
Next question is really important. From Hatman and says, how much would we need to raise to afford color film for
Wait a minute.
Series 2 of Parallel?
A lot of money, a lot
Lot,
of money.
yeah.
This is paid by our secret agents and government stuff. But yeah, it's one shot.
Yeah. Just keep giving
Yes,
us
we have-
money and we'll tell you when it's enough.
We have multiple shadow organizations that have contractually obliged us to only film in black and white, so it would have to be a considerable sum.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
it might be
we're
at risk of
glad
our
you
lives
asked,
to do
actually.
anything other than black and white.
They just keep throwing you money until it turns to color.
Yes,
That'll work,
That's right.
So
I
many.
think the black and white is classy as
Classy
Sweet.
AF.
Say it.
classy AF.
This is a not for kids. We're avoiding COPPA. You can speak freely here.
because the color thing, the aesthetics are. I mean, you guys do match very well with your aesthetics, but the black and white just makes it so clean. Yes, the hats.
Yeah,
If
I
you
think that I think
if
that's
you
part
do
of it
color,
too,
you're
though.
gonna
Is
have to
that
wear the same outfit, like uniforms.
Well, except
Yeah.
for the one session where I filmed with my Q70 on, that puts a bunch of different color on me for my streams. So if you watch the video, you can see the iris in my footage going up and down
Yeah.
through the different colors because it's in black and white, but it keeps
Yeah.
getting lighter and darker. Because that's back when we had it, we were still thinking about trying to stream this, so I just had it in my head to use my stream setup, and it kind of screwed up the video footage for Flow a little bit.
It's made it different.
It's very different.
Yeah,
Usable, maybe not, but
definitely
Behind
one
the
of the ideas with black and white. Besides it just looking classy and all that, like, is that it helps to match because none of us have like we spend all our money on music stuff, so we have like phones and little webcams for our video stuff.
Well, Story in Soil wants to know if you guys are going to do another one.
Nope, that's it.
this is it.
Just kidding.
Wow,
We're done
that
forever.
was definitive.
It's like the typical bands, like we don't even like each other anymore. We're just breaking up, like, and we'll do a reunion tour in like 30 years when we need money and we're retired.
Reunion parallel tour.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just gonna let this ride out so you guys will change your minds right now and say, "Haha, just kidding. Yes, we're definitely gonna do another one."
Yeah, no, we definitely
Yes.
want to do something new.
We
Yeah,
do.
that's-
And we've already been
really
talking about a few
motivated
ideas.
Currently
what we
planning
did and-
what's
and
the next
stuff.
what could be the next project actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, with the same name or a different name?
Same as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
It's gonna be called Hyper Cobra next.
Hyper Cobra Action
the
Force.
What was
Opposite
your
of
joke
parallel.
about the other? What was the name of the?
Perpendicular
Yeah.
would be the.
Oh yeah, perpendicular.
Please.
Totally different.
Totally rolls off the tongue the same. It's great. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's good to name things with multiple syllables, right? Perpendicular.
Well, Simon Fake Pie asked this question just now in the chat, but it's also in our list, and I don't know who asked it before. But are you going to play live once the world is back to normal?
Could be nice, yeah.
Which Simon just said
We
in
would love
parallel
to.
live when.
We would love
Yeah.
to.
Once we
Which
figure
you
out.
said earlier, there's a lot of logistics.
Yeah, exactly. Once we can figure out how the technical. I mean, at first it was supposed to be 4 separate streams that you can switch on the tabs of your browser, but as we said before, people who watch on the phone are like stuck to one angle, so that wouldn't work. So that means we'll have to find a 5th person or a 5th computer, or at least somewhere used as a 5th entity, maybe machine or someone behind it, who could merge 4 streams and play live with them, I think. So once we can figure out how we can do this, if we can.
Yeah,
And the
the more
lag.
that we can, the more that we can cut down on latency and drift and all that. And there's some stuff we kind of have looked into that might help with that. So
Yeah. Ironically, because this project had nothing to do with the current quarantine situation, but because of the quarantine situation, there's more and more tech that's being developed to be better at streaming and talking, and so there's a chance that could be a fringe benefit for our group, is that somebody may come out with something that actually has low enough latency and all that we can do this as a stream and still have it sound good and all of that stuff.
DDC says we can buy an ingest server to merge the streams.
yeah, hell yeah.
Sure.
That'd be
I don't
awesome.
know what that means.
Oh, but then he says analog hook us up. Wow.
Totally, I'm in.
Just in case for the context of the question, if live was also meaning live in person, we'd love to do that. We'd love to do that as well, but that's another logistical problem, obviously, because we're many hundreds and thousands of miles away from each other.
Yeah.
But
give us all that money
obviously,
for
if we
color,
could,
and we'll spend it on plane tickets.
That's right. Well, you'll get real life color because we'll be live. But obviously, if there was a way we could make that happen, we'd love to do it.
I did check the
Definitely.
halfway point between the two areas once, and it's the middle of the ocean. So
Yeah,
if you
it's the
guys could do it on a
middle of the ocean,
raft,
Cora.
Sweet.
that would
So
be
we
top.
could-
Well, those are international waters probably, so we could do whatever the hell
No
we want.
sharks.
And we can merge the thing with the
Yeah,
Lost
we need
at
to keep
Sea
Flo away from
collab.
sharks. We know his history with sharks.
All right, this is a very cool question from Grumo. What font is this flow that you're using for
Oh,
parallel?
I think I asked that question once too.
I can't remember now. I can tell you later if I open all the session stuff. I don't have it in mind right now. I don't even remember the name of it. Sorry.
It's pretty cool.
Sorry.
All right, this is deep. You guys ready to go deep?
Yeah.
Hey!
Yeah.
Could we expect you guys to form a hot real boy band? I'm sorry, there is some Z's in here. Guys.
Guys.
Boys.
Guys. Is it B-O-I-Z?
Yeah,
Boys?
it should be.
B-O-Y-Z.
Hot
It should be
boys.
C-O-I-Z.
Maybe the next one we should like remove some clothes a little bit and go like
Oh,
Just a little.
some
you
already
guys see, I'm
made up
drinking
beats.
my Huel here. This is my breakfast, so you don't want, this is trying to make it so that shirtless foot isn't an abomination.
You gotta do the dance moves synchronized. So we're just gonna
Yeah,
go
no.
with a no.
Well, that's the
Probably-
beauty, though. If we
probably
do mostly
not me.
drone-based music, we don't have to worry about rhythmic dancing.
Or we change the genre. We go for like super drony pop.
Only I.
You know?
We have all the dancing we need in Andrea. That's
Yeah.
all we need. He
Yeah.
does enough for the entire group. We're good.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got
I
the
think
motion.
yeah, maybe we should try that thing. Exactly.
Yeah, he would be the choreographer if that ever did happen for sure.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Adrian would like you to incorporate leather as well.
Oh, I live in Arizona. Please no. I've had some history with that material here in the past early years of foot where of my life where I didn't care as much about how uncomfortable I was. And yeah, I don't want to go back.
So,
Leather pants are expensive.
don't know.
via Instagram, Foot was asked by Cora, do you guys have a manager?
Searching for one.
No way, man. Ain't got no
I
manager.
think that question came with a volunteer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in this call, just. So, moving on. Deep Surface asked in the chat, if you were criminals, who would be the leader, who would be the muscle, and who would be the getaway driver? Which I also said we would need a techie
Yeah,
to
it's
hack
four
the
of us.
systems.
Well, the leader would probably be Tataki.
Yeah, I agree.
And the muscle?
No, I
That's
I
foot.
have no muscles.
Yeah,
as
that's
you can
foot.
see. It's like
Leader, muscle, tech, and what's the last one?
Leader, muscle tech, and
Getaway driver.
the driver.
Oh, yeah.
You
I
drive
don't-
much, Andrea? That'd have to be me then.
The driver is the
Yeah,
one who doesn't
maybe.
drink alcohol.
If
we can
You're
fight
gonna
for
kill
the
us
driver
all.
role.
I'm the one that's
if
would
Andrea
always
was
be
the driver,
sober.
we'd just take the bus to get away. No, I'm just kidding.
They never see it coming.
That's true.
We're just on a bus.
No
Oh,
one
boy.
suspects.
It sounds like a disaster.
Yeah, we would be bad at that kind of thing.
Please don't be criminals. Simon Fake Pie would like to know, Tataki, who do you like best out of the four? Or out of the other three?
Choose.
I like the entity.
Hey, beautiful cop-out answer. I love
Very
it.
parental answer.
I love you all in your own way.
Yeah.
Seth did ask why. That was the question.
Technically, Seth on my Instagram asked why.
Why?
Just why?
Why?
I have the answer.
Yeah.
The answer is drone.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is our answer for all questions.
Because drone.
This point forward, drone.
Yeah. We plead
Oh,
the
man.
drum.
I'm putting some gif here and there. Do not be offended,
I'm
No,
not
it's not- I
watching
mean-
them.
Okay.
It's It's definitely representative of this.
Dating
so, yes.
games.
Oh
That means
man.
that it's going to turn into a dating game. Blue said analog is tech, pressing one button. That seems
Yeah,
Hey,
probably
when
would
when
be
you're good,
tech.
you only have to press one button.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Hey,
probably
Dip.
would be
Oh.
tech.
Oh, we got Dip. Hey, Dip. I did
Hey,
message
Dip.
Dip loudly to wake her up. Hatmanin asked Parallel Session 4, what? It's the end already? Do you have an answer for that?
Yes, that's the answer.
Very short.
And the answer is yes.
Yes.
All good things must come to an end.
I don't like that answer.
4 hours.
I don't want it to end.
It's 4 hours.
Separately, though, which was painful. The hour would just fly by.
That is true.
I cannot tell you how quickly my workday went on Tuesdays because that hour would just be gone. I was lost.
I take that as a compliment.
I echo all of the angst of the people who were upset when it was over.
Daddy dating simulator.
Oh man.
No. It's so funny that you guys are being called the dads because only
There's only
two-
only half of the crew here is our dads.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Andre and Tataki are side hogs.
Side.
Sorry, inside joke.
Watch the Daddy Dating Simulator streams, and you'll get that joke.
Yeah, the
And you'll love it,
streams.
'cause it's
great.
good.
Okay.
Brian's best side hog.
We are going to open up the chat for questions, but I have been saving some throughout this, so we'll start with those, and people can start asking questions. Pillbug wants to know, were there moments that you think in hindsight too much was happening at the same time?
I think for me, yeah, there was definitely a point, but I think the mixing helps with that. I don't know. You can speak to that, Tataki, but there, I'm sure, were there probably some points where you turned one of us down a little bit or whatever.
Not that much actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that.
That's
much.
good to hear.
Yeah.
I figured it'd be me.
Yeah, me too. That's probably just that self,
Yeah.
like worrying
for
that
sure.
you're too loud
There's
or whatever.
probably
yeah.
one part in the session
Too loud, too much.
but nothing really like too aggressive. Like the Discord was way more messy than the mix after a couple of enhancements and mix on the tracks, but the Discord was the main messy thing, I think.
So Strigid asked, did you guys make any intentional changes to your workflow to prompt a sound separate from your own personal projects?
Good question.
Yeah, this is a good question.
Classic
Yes.
Strigen question.
Actually, yes. So I think after the first or the second, maybe the second session, we were thinking about adding more bass, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started to play more bass sounds. So I took out my electric bass or played the synthesizer as a bass. So yeah, this is just an example, but there were kind of a lot of different things that I think that Flow and Food can also talk about their setup because they are kind of similar, but at the same time they decided to use them in different ways. So yeah, we worked on this thing during the process, of course.
And also,
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys feel it, but I think the first session is completely different from the three other ones, because once we started to like sort of announced that it could work better with more separate separate parts inside the 1 hour track, I felt like the first one was like way more chaotic in a way, and was way more trying different. At least that's how I did it, like trying different things. And once we talked about it and say, oh, maybe we should make like small parts with different notes and with different because the first one was that way, but it went complete. I mean, for me, it went completely off of the grid. I know if that makes sense. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
the three last tracks were more things that I used to do usually, but try to push a little bit outside.
Yeah, that's I was going to say from like my setup was pretty much identical to when I stream, but I used it differently, which I think is what Flo was trying to express as well.
Mm.
Because for me, most of the time when I stream, like I'm accompanying myself, so I need to have, I'll have something going in the tape loops, or I'll have something looping in my pedal rig or whatever. Whereas in this project, we already were all supporting each other. We all had things going, so I didn't have to do that stuff as much. So it was more thinking about, okay, so the other three guys are kind of in these frequencies or in these timbres or textures. So what can I add with what I have here to complement that without either duplicating it or taking away from what they're already doing? So my gear and my workflow didn't change so much as just the way I approached it, which I guess maybe is the same thing. I don't know, but
Yeah, for me, I didn't. I haven't performed this way ever. So actually, the way I've performed live like tons and tons in my life, but not using a computer. This is actually the first time I've ever done that. So for me, it was all kind of new.
Very cool.
And that worked well.
Well, Lou asked Foot, why did not you use chickens?
how do you know I didn't? Might have been a sample in the micro granny. It might have been on a tape loop. You don't know.
But was it? But was
Chickens
it?
could be anywhere.
That's true, especially when it's me.
Strigid asked, did you do any warm-ups with each other before setting out to record
Shot
each
to
of the
flow.
sessions?
No warm up, but we decided to do the at least a small sound check before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
because we didn't do it for the first two sessions.
Yeah.
How'd that go? Was there a
Fine,
difference?
but-
Did you notice a difference?
I don't know. It would have been in the mixing part, I guess. I think we just wanted to make sure because they're it's difficult sometimes to monitor your levels while you're paying attention to all the like
Yeah.
how you hear other people and all that over Discord. There's a lot of juggling of all that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Flo would know. Like I don't know if there's any of our recordings that were too quiet or too loud or whatever. But I don't have to deal with that stuff. He just mixes everything, and I just listen.
No, but the sound check was actually a good way to see if the peak level, like
Yeah.
going on the fuzz thing, or if the peak
Yeah.
Yeah.
wasn't too clipping, or if the lowest part aren't too quiet.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
for me, it
That was
helped
the main
actually
point.
more to get my levels of just listening to you guys, like, because that was what was more critical to me than anything else, because that's where it could get difficult if I didn't hear one of you,
And of
Or heard
course,
too
the
much.
Andrea warm up was this way of doing the beginning. I'm just showing the GIF right now.
Oh yeah,
Classic.
and then look at.
This is the warm up.
Andrea was the only one to do warm up.
I continued to
skill.
sit in my chair. I would make sure my vape was filled, so I didn't have to do that
Yes.
in the middle of a session.
It's very important.
That would ruin it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to completely butcher this name because he refuses to teach me how to say it.
As a joke.
Kira asked.
I think it's Kire.
I
but
know, but
You gotta
every
roll the R a
time,
little
like
bit.
when he
Kire.
sent it in a video that he did, I got it and now it's gone. So, did you cut out? So this would be for Flo. Did you cut out or drown parts because they didn't work out when you were mixing?
Like if I removed any audio
Right.
material? No.
Any material, or did you just leave it as it was?
Yeah, all the time. There's even a part during the session 4 that I don't remember if it was a mix between I personally didn't like it that much compared to other parts we did, and we had some difficulties. Maybe the video thing, if I can remember, like we had a small file, one of the camera was off. We could have the choice to do.
My resolution changed at one point, which
Yeah,
I
and
didn't.
your
I didn't
resolution.
change it, but OBS decided to do it in a lower resolution.
And Nick
Yeah.
bumped his camera.
Yeah, got turned towards the wall.
And
for
I
like
have
half
the proof.
session.
I have the GIF. But we talked a little bit about it. Like, should we make another one? And everybody was like, nah, it's fine.
Nope.
Let's keep it.
Let
that
it be
way.
what it is.
Nick crash that GIF.
Everyone in the chat is telling me I need to roll my R's when I say his name. I
Kill.
cannot roll my
Cora
R's.
has a hard time with rolling her R's.
Ever.
It's like
With
you
any
say
word, I
key
can't
and
purr.
Cora.
If you didn't watch it, you can watch the GIF, Nick.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
But yeah, the sessions, like everything's in. Like I know points where I hit a bad note that I can hear. I think I accidentally started the rhythm on my SK1 one time, and I think in the last session, Flow uses the sample feature on the SK1, and you can hear the little beep that it makes when it has the
Yeah.
sample. Like all of everything is there. It's very honest, which I like personally.
Yeah, I like that too.
What did they lost? Sorry.
I
Um,
don't remember.
Simon the Magpie would like to know, next time, what will you switch up? Will you do vocals, add a person?
think
Some
that's a good
recommendations
question.
were adding Strigid's
I mean-
vocals or Simon's toys. Do you have any ideas, or do you want to keep that to yourselves?
I don't think we want to keep it to it. I think we're just in that stage where that's exactly what we're thinking about ourselves. Right?
Considering all possibilities.
Yeah.
We can't share what we don't know right now.
But yeah,
some
something.
ideas.
Yeah, you know, like
Yeah, we're open,
something,
definitely.
something different, something new. Because this definitely worked really well. So we're all pretty motivated to be in that phase of like, what do we want to do next?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe some featured vocalists who are female, who
I don't know
you
any
know,
though.
don't
I don't
I
know
can't
any
think of
They
any.
can
Who
just-
knows?
ambient sounds in the background. We got a
No,
lot of
never-
musical
Never
friends,
heard of
you know.
anyone, so I don't know what you're talking about, Cora.
No.
Darn. Well, good idea though, planting the seed. So we've got 3 questions in a row from Strigid. She's got really good questions. So
I won't take any fucking dinosaur questions. Just put
Oh
that out
no!
there,
You
like-
just see, you said it though. Now you said it, and
so
Sorry,
far
go
so
ahead.
good.
I appreciate Strigid's passion for dinosaurs. That's good.
Quick, DDC in the chat said, I sent a message on WhatsApp to Andrea. Tell him to listen to it. There's the pronunciation of Kire or whatever.
Dee Dee's getting
I'd still
into
want to leave it
language again.
ambiguous because that's the fun.
Thank you, DDC, for your help. Thank you very much.
That's super interesting.
Maybe I can just.
Just hold it up to your microphone.
Here we go.
Do it again.
Kire.
Oh, yeah,
That's what
I
I thought.
Hey.
Kire.
DDC's part of Parallel now.
That's
Confirmed.
great.
Thank you,
Thank
DDC.
you. I will never forget. I probably will.
Still got to roll your R.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Strigid asked, did you feel a progress in how much you were able to play off each other as each session passed?
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lot. Even in a way that I think we joked about it once, that things were going super great when we played the last sessions. Like things were almost not fluent, but hey, what's up? Plug in.
Yeah,
greeting.
yeah. I think we kind of made the joke or the observance that we were almost feeling too casual, like it wasn't as
Yeah.
like raw as it was in the beginning, which is what I mean. That's a great sign that it was time to like it had reached its culmination of like what we were trying to do.
Totally.
I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, Strigid also asked, did you talk much before each session to get a feel for each other's moods?
Foreplay.
It was
No,
all
I
so
mean,
clean and pure until then.
well, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose that's only
I think we
means sex.
talked. We were writing a lot before to see if everybody was okay to on a specific
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
For
Oh
us, at
yeah.
least,
Well, I mean, even just aligning schedules was difficult.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we were definitely all aware of like everybody's situation, mood, what they had for breakfast. You know, like.
Yeah, we talk and
Our
just typing a lot. So
yeah, I
would,
say our parallel message thread is pretty long.
Yep. Yeah. So by the time it got to the time we all agreed on, we were all pretty ready. So when we were meeting, then we were all in a pretty chipper or ready mood.
Yeah.
Well, speaking as Foot's other half, he usually would know ahead of time, like, oh, we're going to have a call this many hours from now or tomorrow afternoon or something. So there was time to get in like that headspace.
The Batman signal.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
There's a four in the clouds.
Jake asked, how did the Strigid, how did the decision for an hour each session come about?
Well, I think because it's a reasonable time,
Yeah.
actually.
I think it
Just
was
because,
longer.
you can develop a lot of cinematic movement in an ambient drone sound environment in 1 hour. So you have enough space and time for the development of an improvisation, actually.
Yeah, I think it was just
It's
thrown
just
out there, and
arbitrary, of course.
one of us, we all just were like, yeah, that makes sense. And it wasn't even talked about for much longer than that.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Can't
easy
play
to
shorter.
divide into 4.
Yeah, we
Yeah, also.
divided in 4, and originally we even wanted to introduce like intro, outro, and 4 parts.
Oh, that's
Yes,
right.
Yeah,
But
we
we
did.
never
I
we
forgot
never
about that.
did
Yeah.
it that way. Maybe on the first. That's why the first is longer, probably because there's an intro, like the 4 going into one note and then separated
Yeah,
into 4.
right.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah.
But 1 hour seems pretty good because 4 times 15 minutes is kind of good.
Yeah, I like an hour.
Mathematics.
Less than that would make people mad, and more of that, you guys would probably get kind of exhausted.
Nah.
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 Drone.
No problem.
Drone.
Can keep
drone
going.
For days.
I could drone for days. Kire.
Kire.
Better, dinosaurs or chickens?
Hey, if you're gonna ask
Next.
that question, you gotta ask Strigid's question.
Oh, but that's
Chickens
he said
are
that
dinosaurs.
Strigid can't ask dinosaur questions.
Chickens are the answers.
Chickens are dinosaurs. Something
my
about
gosh.
gizzards. Something about
something about knees.
fossils. That's not
Fine.
a dinosaur.
Chickens have knees.
We will allow one dinosaur question
But
from
only
Strigid,
if
although
we quote Jurassic
Strigid
Park
said
at a point.
not a dinosaur. What are each of your favorite therapsids? Which I don't know what that is.
You're gonna
Therapsid?
be shocked by this, but I don't either.
You know everything.
Therapsids.
Therapsids.
That's what Google says.
What is it?
Yes.
Oh, that's the answer. Yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, Tuesday.
I'm going to save some of the silly questions in a minute and move on to what Lou just asked. What were the differences of working with friends than working with people you don't know at the same level? Do you think that allowed you to explore new stuff because of how comfortable you are?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
I'm fixing it. It's fixed.
Yeah, I don't like. I didn't. I mean, we already were friends, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Well, that's
the point,
what Lou's
though.
saying is because you know each other, did that make it easier to explore things because you're comfortable together versus working with people that you don't really know?
Oh yeah. Like improvisation, I don't want to or not don't want to, but like I'm not as interested in doing with people that I don't know, or
Yeah,
that aren't my,
absolutely.
like, you know, because
Well, yeah, because
that's what's so nice about it.
there's a bond and a communication there that you're not. I mean, I've done it and you can do it, and maybe you have two analogs. I know you've done that kind of stuff a lot, but it's much easier with someone that you at least have some level of relationship with.
Yeah, I mean the
Obviously.
foreplay thing was a joke, but like not totally, because it's like, you know, like the if you improvise with somebody you don't know, you'll know them.
That's true.
Like, I mean,
That's true.
it's a little communication, you know.
That's deep. I like that.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Andrea? I know you've done a lot of this kind of stuff as well.
Well, actually, yeah, I've done a lot of improvisation with a lot of people, obviously, because it's my main way of working, of course. But there is a little line between what I think it's you know it's let me there is a little line between just a jam and an improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I don't know if
No, I know what you're
it
saying
sounds
there,
good.
because you can have an improvisational jam, but like, you know, I think I forget what you said one time, Andrea, but it was something along the lines of like improvisation doesn't mean there's no planning. You know, like
Yeah.
you can plan an improvisation. It's
You
not just
can't
total
improvise
chaos.
an improvisation.
Right? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's what it
Yeah.
was.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like our stuff was all improvised, but we still had our brackets or our barriers where we knew, like, okay, so everybody is in this space. Now
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And even if
Not like,
you
oh, just play whatever you
don't
want, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, and even if you don't exactly define where are the barriers, sometimes you just feel them.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if you know the people who are working with you, it's easier
Yeah.
actually.
And both are cool. Like I like both. You know,
Yeah.
because sometimes I jump into the music room on the server and the Discord server, and that's fun too. But it is there's definitely an inherent difference. You know, for
Yeah.
sure. That's more of
Yeah.
like a jam, I think.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Well, couple fun ones. Kira asked, "What's your favorite Transformer?"
I don't care about Transformers.
I don't know.
I know one.
Transformers.
His name.
Analog, you're old enough though to be with. Well, I guess we all are though.
Yeah, I'm
For
a curmudgeon
the
about
original,
cartoons and comics
are.
and stuff,
Yeah,
though.
man.
Hey, there's live action.
I
What's
liked
the
them.
name
You know,
of the
we
main
liked them
one?
back when they didn't suck and it wasn't Michael Bay movies.
Evan,
Oh my gosh.
weren't you
Hot
about to
take.
name
Get
the
people
main
mad
one,
out there.
Cora?
Wait, what'd you say, Flo?
Weren't you about to name the main one, Cora?
Yeah, Bumblebee.
Is that a Transformer?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the one that
That's how
used
I
to be
feel about it.
a bug that became a Camaro.
yeah, and then
Okay.
it turns into it's the yellow one,
And
and
what's
he's
the
the nice
blue-
one.
Blue, like
He's the one with all the feelings.
the French flag. Like, isn't there one
Optimus
with blue?
Prime?
Yeah, okay, Optimus Prime.
You mean
Yeah.
American flag?
But
I
I don't
watched a
even know
lot of the Transformer movies,
Sorry.
but yeah, it's not. I'm more into Marvel, so I can't answer Transformer questions.
I'm trying to find the name of the guy I like. I don't remember.
Favorite ice cream flavor? Go in order of analog around the circle.
Oh, favorite vanilla. Good vanilla.
Oh my gosh.
Lemon.
Yeah, lemon and strawberry mixed.
I like chocolate chip cookie dough.
Chocolate chip. What?
Second
That's
choice.
because Foot is a child.
America.
Yeah, that would be my second choice. I mean, that's basically vanilla with cookie dough in it.
Yes, with chunks
Yeah.
of cookie dough.
Because America.
So, Kiri says not one of them went for output Transformers.
Nice.
So I think the one that I like is named Blaster, which is the one that could turn into a radio. I was trying to find it.
That makes sense.
Yes.
If each of you, this is from Strigid, if each of you were performing as Parallel in a masquerade ball, what would each of your masks be?
As far as
I
like our
like Strigid's
personalities or our
questions.
choice. My choice would be a plague mask because I've always been fascinated with those things.
Oh, the doctor's one? The
Yes,
raven?
plague doctor mask. I
Yeah.
love those. Love to make a real one out of leather someday.
A mask.
I'd probably just pick like as realistic as possible looking face of like someone else.
Or of
Like-
you, like
A real-
the most
Or
Or me.
realistic.
Yeah, that would be
No,
cool.
we do a realistic face mask of each other.
Yes.
Yeah, to make it like
Oh.
super uncanny. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
So that means
Not a
we-
bad idea.
We'll have to try to impersonate also the voice. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So Lou says he's surprised no one said pistachio. I do love pistachio.
Yeah, Cora's got you on that one.
Sorry.
Yeah, pistachios. good.
Muffins,
Allergic
all
to
the pistachio. Allergic.
Oh, that sucks.
Mm. I just hate.
Sorry.
That's the one of the most top. I've got a list of 5 things that I hate the most, which is like Macedon, like vegetables with mayonnaise, sheep brains, which I used to have at the kitchen school when I was a kid, and the third one is pistachios ice cream.
Germans. No.
I love spumoni. Spumoni ice cream is Italian.
Sounds
Talahan.
Italian.
It's at a American Italian restaurant. Okay, so
Yes.
let's see.
It's SDDC. What do you think?
I'm saving Simon Fake Pie's question for the end because it's the best way to end this. So Simon, I'm not ignoring you. Benjamin asked, did you fade out in unison? Like, how did you do that? Did you use the timer? How did you end?
It was we used a timer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, we had the 1 hour thing and then the 15 minute chunks where we
Right.
knew who was kind of the leader of that chunk and the key they were in.
And just intuitively by like what we were hearing, so we all didn't just go like we
Yeah.
gradually made it sound musically pleasant.
Yeah.
I was kind of dreaming to make a clean cut, at least for one session, but I was like too
Yeah.
hard to imagine how to like
Yeah.
other than
With the latency, it's hard to.
checking like a
Yeah.
sound. Maybe if we could have a sample, like when you hear that sample, like that penguin sound, I'm gonna cut in 2 seconds.
Yeah. now you're all getting an insight into our planning process.
But
This
that,
is
that would
exactly
have
Yes,
been
that's
great
true.
to do.
Which I guess is kind of the point of this.
Like,
Alex asked, have you ever met in person?
no.
Nope.
Sadly, no.
Unfortunately, no.
It is a dream.
One day.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
this can be coupled with the question: did you already play live? I mean, the two questions
Yes.
are: if
Yes.
we meet all together, we will play for sure.
Follow up.
We need to
Yes.
find the manager to
Oh,
find
no.
And
the
the island.
spot for playing live and meet in person.
The island in the middle
Careful,
of
that
Atlantic
chair can only
Ocean.
take so much.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Needless to say, I think if any one of us ever meets up at all, music will definitely happen. Even if it's
Yeah.
not all 4, but all 4 would be amazing.
Yeah. For sure.
Strigid asked, what were the moments that were there moments that you struggled to get into the groove of the music, and how did you from that?
That's a good question.
Beginning of session 4 for me. Like I literally played nothing for maybe 2 minutes because I couldn't feel how to enter the thing.
Yeah. I for me, yeah, I had a similar kind of thing in 3 at some point. I think where it was just, I don't know. But that's what's, I think that's pretty normal, at least for me. All the improvisational performances I've done, that's really normal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
every once in a while, like that's actually one of the things I actually like that. So that's
Yeah,
one-
sometimes
when I
it
was
happens
little-
that it doesn't work at all.
yeah.
It's pretty, yeah, it happens.
Like you try to come in with something and it's like, ooh, that's not it. Like,
Wow.
but yeah, just kind of fade it back out. Like,
Yeah, there
I
were
didn't get
definitely a
that.
few of those where I
Yeah,
came
I
in.
didn't
I
get
came
that
in with
too
something
much
and
in
was like,
these, but
"Nope, pull that
sometimes.
back down."
Yeah.
I think it was session 2, maybe. It was one of the ones where I was using my baritone guitar where I wasn't super in love with what I was playing. It was one of the moments that I was kind of leading on, but as we played it together, it developed and got better, which I think is maybe kind of what tends to happen with that stuff. But
Mhm.
I can remember one where I was just like, "Man, I'm stuck with what I've already put out there, so I'm going to commit to it, but I'm not really in love with it right now."
Yeah.
But other will
Uh,
pile up and make something
Yeah.
more with it.
let's see. Alex asked, "How far apart are you? What countries do you live in?"
Italy.
Friends.
America.
America, but
I'm
I'm
in
in
Wisconsin.
Arizona.
Yeah.
So that's still for us. That's a decent. It's not as far as we could be here, but it's still pretty far.
Still kind of
Oh,
expensive
yeah.
to
It
get
is.
there.
Yes.
Flo and Andrea are much closer to each other than me.
Yes.
But,
Yeah,
Yeah. It's funny.
totally.
I was explaining that to my son the other day about the difference because he was talking about going to Europe sometime, and I said, "Well, the really cool thing about Europe is when you go there, it's not too hard to hit multiple countries. Whereas here, we're like,
Yeah.
the distance even from Mexico to Canada is huge going across that way
take me
in our
like
country.
2 days to drive to Foot's house. Like,
Yeah, it's bonkers.
if I was road
And
dogging it.
we have reached an hour and a half, so I think this is the
Oh, really?
perfect way to end this.
Are we not gonna
We
do
should
the
have
had
4-hour
Simon.
stream?
Timer going.
I'm good for
I'm
whatever.
I could go get more
Expecting it 4
to
hours.
drink.
I'm sure there's more questions.
Alcohol break.
Simon, the fake pie, asked, "What was the coolest thing you learned from this?" So I would say go in order again, starting with analog.
That I learned. I don't know. I didn't learn anything. Next, no, just kidding.
You're totally the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nothing. Just cheesy stuff. Like I learned that I love my friends and all that. But
Yeah,
I mean, I already knew
definitely.
that. But yeah, like I didn't learn anything
Oh.
technically or whatever. I didn't learn anything technically. That's a bad. I don't know. Next.
Well, what can I say? That I learned that distance is not a problem.
That's yeah. I pretend I said that. That sounds nice.
Wasn't
Next.
sure you were going to say
Distance is not a problem.
Oh no, no retweets. Say your
Aw.
own.
I mean, for me, my personal experience was learning that I could even do this kind of thing with people. Like most of my stuff I've always done alone. So that like this specific music, like I've done other genres, other styles with friends and bands and at my church and like that stuff I can do, but I'm never really taken a deep dive into kind of the experimental music world. So this is really my first experience in doing that. So it was very satisfying to me to feel like, for one, that I was able to do it with my friends, and how successful it was for all of us doing it together like that. And that, I guess I didn't necessarily learn that, but it was definitely like, wow, this is amazing. Like this is turning out so good. And we didn't have any real um, preconceived notions about what we wanted it to be. We just did it and it turned out great, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree.
Yeah. I would have personally loved to learn more technical stuff about streaming as of
Yeah.
course. So that's something that we'll keep for maybe the next project. But yeah, to avoid the retweet, as you say, I think I learned something like exactly as you said, Foot. Like I've always played solo like for years, and I've always felt that was my way of doing things. So that's a great thing to overcome. I don't know, like ancient established thoughts that things are, you know, like this because you believe they're like this. So playing with people totally was something new for me, but like new in a great way because I've tried to play with people before and never really, I don't know, caught or you know.
yeah, playing with people is really therapeutic and just highly recommend it. Like, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I like, the server and working together, even if we're just putting songs in, together on albums. We even call those collabs, like, because we're collaborating on an album. But like, you see a lot of people just figuring out working together, with like whether they're jamming in the music room or whatever. Like that's definitely something I've had a lot of experience with in the past, and that's been the nicest way to, um, I don't know, kind of like bond with people that are your friends.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and that's going into this. One of the things we kind of were saying as far as like, we hope that us doing this will be a like, and I don't want to say inspiration, but I guess it's the best word I can think of. Uh, like, you guys can do this. Like, this wasn't that hard for us to do. Well, it wasn't that hard for me to do, and I guess that's a piggyback statement. Like, big thanks to Flo on
Yeah.
this. Like, this was his brainchild. He stitched all our videos together. Like, he is a huge part of making this whole thing successful. But
Yep.
with that, like, it wasn't super difficult to do. Like, you guys can do this. The server is a huge resource. I don't even know how many members we have now, especially after that spike from Simon's Insta story. So like, but at last I looked, we had like over 2,000 people. So there's